everybody. I'm so excited to welcome you to this edition of Crucial Conversations. Are you wondering what my excitement is about? Then meet my guests.
Funto Ibuoye is a kingdom-driven woman with a deep sense of purpose, committed to propelling and equipping individuals, organizations, and nations to make God's kingdom agenda their priority. Her passion for excellence, nation building, and helping women live their full lives has propelled her to consistently birth life-transforming projects and administer destiny refining, realigning, and advancing insight through her several expressions across her books, courses, events, business, and speaking engagement. FI, as she is warmly called, consistently serves women in diverse fields and nations around the globe with a unique need to launch a higher version of their purposes and businesses. At 528 Interiors, which is not just an interior design firm, but also a catalytic tool for nation building and kingdom advancement, she consistently leads a team of resourceful interior design professionals, architects, project managers, and other administrative staff committed to transforming lives as they beautify spaces with over 60 excellently executed projects since inception in November 2016. As a result of her consistent impact through the years, Funto has been recognized on several notable platforms. She was listed among the Y Niger and Leading Ladies Africa 100 Most Inspiring Women in Nigeria in 2017 and Mogulet's Africa 100 Most Inspiring Moguls in 2020. As an author of 5 powerful books, Beautified, The 31 Woman, In Love with Abba, This Purpose Thing, and Recalibrate, she continually reaches thousands of people across the globe with the instrumentality of her words in addition to other speaking opportunities. Funto founded the Beautified Network in 2011, a for-purpose and faith-based initiative inspiring women to live their best lives, and hosted a series of events and the annual Becoming Conference that impacted thousands of women before officially shutting it down in the year 2019. Funto graduated from Covenant University in 2010 with a second-class upper degree in accounting and became a chartered accountant, ICANN, in 2011. She is blissfully married to Akiade Ibuoye, popularly known as Gaze Baba. Together, they are a beacon of light, attracting attention to God's kingdom, and they are blessed with 2 wonderful sons.
Wow, it's so good to have you here today.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
So finally, we're having this conversation.
I know.
You know, and I think your life is, it's not I think, I know. Your life is one continuous testimony. The story that God has been writing and is planning to write is an awesome one. And I've been wondering how we're going to unpack, but what I want to be able to do today is to, you know, snippets, different parts of your life, and let's see what you've pushed through, what you've been able to deal with, how God has helped you, and let's bless a lot of women out there and a lot of families out there. Thank you again for doing this.
Thank you for having me.
So let's start right from the beginning.
Okay,
From
the
very beginning. Can we go there?
In the beginning, God created Funto.
I started a fantastic story.
I know, right?
So tell me maybe a bit, because that's a miracle.
Okay, so in the beginning, yeah, I was conceived in my mother's womb. Okay, so basically, right, so my mom discovered that she was pregnant with me when she was still in school. And I remember, this is my mom who told me this story. So she told me that when she found out that she was pregnant with me, she actually tried to abort me 3 times. But, you know, some of us have coconut head from heaven. And God said, no, we are not going anywhere, you know. And I remember she literally said that she was scared that, you know, maybe I would come out deformed or something because of the things that she had done. And then I came out and I was this beautiful baby girl.
Very beautiful.
Thank you.
I must say that again.
Yeah, so Because of the background my mom was from and my dad was from a well-to-do family and my mom wasn't so well-to-do. So the long story was short that, they didn't allow them get married to each other. So eventually my dad married someone else. My mom actually waited for my dad. I married someone else, and then I think a year or so after my dad got married, my mom got married to someone else. So I'm right in the middle of two families, so
how was that?
So when I came to the understanding of my life, as a child, I think I was about six or seven. That was when I started to realize that, okay, there's something not normal about
like
me.
the traditional.
Exactly, but instead of that making me feel some type of way, I just remember that there was just this thought in my heart that, God puts me in the middle of two families so that none of the families could lay full claim to me. I don't know where that thought came from, but of course, in retrospect, I know that's from the Holy Spirit, but I just had that in my heart. And somehow, it made me very confident. I was growing up, I was actually a very confident child. I was very, proud of, oh, God puts me in the middle of two families, So I didn't used to feel bad that, oh, my mom and my dad were not together. So just even when I go to school and, maybe my friends, mom and dad come for open day, me is my grandparents that will come, or they will send an aunt or an uncle. It didn't used to make me feel...
You were staying with your grandparents?
Yes, I was staying with my paternal grandparents, but it didn't used to make me feel any type of way. But right until, I think it was my early secondary school, junior secondary school days, somehow I just got this overwhelming bitterness towards my dad. Because then I started to realize that, why didn't this man marry my mom? And I know what part of what triggered that was, my life was really kind of like, Nollywood movies, really. My stepmom did not really like me. And she did not try to hide it, that kind of thing. And I was just, there are things that she used to do then. Like I remember one vivid experience was sometimes when because I lived with my grandparents, but I'll go to my dad's house for holiday. Or sometimes if they allow me, I'll go to my mom's house, right? So sometimes when I'm in my dad's place, maybe I do something. Like every child was childish. So I was just being childish, myself. And maybe if I do something wrong, she'll wait till my dad comes back. My dad will come back later at night. He'll wake me up in the middle of the night and spank me with belts. And so it just kind of like, that kind of like triggered that emotion. Like, I just don't like this man. And I remember that I went to my photo album back then. I took all the pictures that I had of my dad and I tore everything.
Wow.
I was so mad and so angry, And then when I got into my senior secondary school, I went to a Christian private school. And one of the things that we were made to do that was compulsory for anyone graduating was that you had to go through something called the School of Ministry. So I was in one of those classes, I think we were talking about forgiveness and all of that, that I started to come to this place where I let go of the bitterness towards my dad. And, I started to really ask God to help me to forgive him. And I got to that place where I really forgave him. And something interesting happened I think when I was in SS2, I remember vividly my dad came to my room. He came home really late that night. And he came into my room and he started crying. I was asleep, his eyes were red, and he was just really crying and then asking me, to forgive him, that he knows that I kind of made a mistake with his life and all of that. Maybe I was 13, 14. Like, forgive you for, I didn't know what to say to him, but I just remember that I cried that night and then he stayed in my room. And then from there, our relationship just really blossomed, so we started to be really close. My dad will not do anything without telling me first. My stepmom didn't like that, so all of that.
So that brought about another set of drama.
Another series of
But
drama.
at least you were able to develop a better relationship with your dad. Fantastic.
Yes. It was just, I enjoyed it, because this was the attention I never got growing up. And so now coming to this place where it's now like my dad's eyes were now open to now say that he has a child, and I was interested that I was the only girl, for him, because his other two children were male, So it was just interesting to have that daddy and me, relationship. And then I got into university. In my 100 level, I remember that I made all A's. And so my dad was just really so proud. And then I remember him saying to me that if I continue on that flow, till my 200 level, he was going to buy me my first car. And here I was like, first car, I was going to be 17 in my 200 level. So, not yet 18, I'm going to be having my first car. Like, it was enough ginger to continue on that level. And then my 200 level came and my dad got ill. He was sick. And at the time, I didn't know what was wrong with him. I just know that they flew him out of the country, but he came back, and then he was in the hospital. And that time, in my 100 level, I had just really given my life to Christ. I went to Covenant University, and I remember that Papa, that's Bishop Oyedepo, had come to preach at an evening service to students. And I was just like, if this man can be following God like this, then there must be something, So it was then that in my 100 level October, I really gave my life to Christ, really. And I'm like, God, I'm just going to follow you through, whatever it's going to cost me. And 200 level came, my dad was sick. So, I had faith, fresh fire, fresh faith. I got my friends together, prayer chain. We were praying for my dad, receive it. I had so much faith that this man was going to be well because, I just put two and two together. God brought me to Covenant University. He made me give my life to Christ. He put me in a circle of faith-filled friends. So I just know that God was going to show up. So this was December, first semester. But I just finished our exams, the first semester exams. And then one of my uncles comes to school. So back then in Covenant University, you could not just go out anyhow. You had to go through a process of getting exit. I had to go to the dean of school and all of that. So he came to the school and I was wondering what he was doing. So he came and he said something like, oh, my grandmother is back from the States. That's my dad's mom. And that she's going back maybe the next day, but she wants to see me. So I'm like, okay, my mind, why didn't she come to the school to come and see me, But so we went through the process of getting the exit. We went and then we left school. And I remember that as we were just getting to the estate where, my grandparents' house was, the very first thing I saw at the estate gate was those obituary posters, and it was my dad's picture. And I just passed out. I don't know what happened next. I just know that when I opened my eyes, I was in the house, there were a crowd of people, and that evening was the wake keep. Oh. Literally. That evening was the wake keep, so they had gotten canopies, and I was just like, God, this was not how the story was meant to be. I remember just being really so upset with God. I'm just like, God, I'm not talking to you again. And I remember going back to school, and I didn't just even bother about any first class. I didn't care anymore. Before then, I'll be from, class, I'll go and eat to library. I'll stay in library till, the end of the day, just because there was something that was, pushing and motivating me, but I lost all the motivation. And even God, but I'm really grateful that I went to a school like CU. If I had gone to another school, I probably would not have turned out the way that I did, because, there's just something about that environment that just, even if you be angry, if you stray, it will just kind of bring you back in, So it was after maybe 6 months that, I think one of my friends was going for a meeting or something, a prayer meeting, and I just followed her to the chapel. Before I'll go for normal service, I'm just not talking to her, I'm just going because we had to go and sign attendance, But I remember that prayer meeting, and I felt like I had an encounter with God. And I just started crying, I just started pouring everything. I felt like that was even the time that I really grieved. Because yes, I cried when my dad died, when everything was happening, the old emotions. But the bitterness and the anger towards God was just much more than me grieving. Because I was just like, God, I prayed, I fasted. I got my friends to join me. My faith was really high. This is something that, me and my dad were just getting close. So, we're going to have an amazing relationship all the days of my life. In fact, I'd even imagined how, you know, my dad was going to walk me down there. And, you know, in secondary school, I'd be, you know, teenage dreams about how when you're getting married and all of that. And, you know, so I wasn't expecting, it was like, I wasn't expecting it. But at the chapel that evening, you know, I kind of like just, it was that time that I just really grieved and poured out all my tears and, you know, let God just, you know, heal me. I felt like that was the beginning of, you know, the healing. I got back on my relationship with God. You know, I started really just really understanding the tenets of this whole faith journey and faith walk with God, what it really meant. And, you know, like I said, I'm just really grateful that I went to Covenant University, because I feel like if I had gone to another school, my life would have turned out completely different, because I remember just always being inspired by the person that's Bishop Oyedepo. And I remember in 2008, I think that was my third year, I remember going for Shiloh, you know, that year, and Papa said something about how some years ago, when he was much younger, you know, he fasted for a whole year. And that thing just clicked in my spirit. And I'm like, if this man can fast for a whole year,
Yeah, Baba.
you know, then God, I can, like, what's stopping me from, you know, Papa, very destiny, you know, conscious, everything, purpose. You know, I was just so driven by him. And this was December. Shiloh is always in December. So, you know, I just felt like that was kind of like an instruction for me. So the next year, I fasted.
Talk to me.
I fasted the whole year. I was like broomstick. I remember my mom did not understand. What are you doing, Gongo? Why are you fasting? Even I could not really say. I just knew that, you know, I just know something in your heart that this is something you should do. You know, I just knew that this was something I should do. And I did it. I did not know that I was, you know, it was part of like my consecrations for the kind of life that God had called me into. You know.
And was it you were able to deal with grieving with your dad? Of course, the dynamics, family dynamics changed for you.
Oh, definitely.
How was that?
So, I mean, of course, everybody, you know, when you lose someone like that, everybody's like, oh, anything you need, call me. You know, I'm here for you. All of that, blah, blah, blah. But, and that's when you begin to see people's true colors. You know, but it was, I mean, I just feel like God already, you know, made a way. So I remember that my dad's friends came together and they kind of put like a trust fund. So that's how I was able to finish school, you know. And then when I finished school, initially, because I was staying with my dad for some time. I mean, that period when I was in school, you know. And then my, you know, stepmom just woke up one morning and said I should, you know, move out of her house. You know, and it was really painful for me because I'd gone so close to my brothers. And at this time, my mom had not even given birth to her own children. Wow. So she was still trusting God for her own children. So I had developed a close bond with my brothers. So leaving them was just like, you know, it was like my whole life was, you know, I remember packing my things and just crying. And by this time, my grandparents had moved to the US. So there was no grandparents' house to go to. So I just had to go to my mom's house, you know. So that's how, you know, that's
when.
Yes.
And then you started living with your mom.
Yes, I started living with my mom.
But I really want us to be able to emphasize how you were able to cope through those seasons. But most importantly, in retrospect, what you're grateful for. You wanted things to happen differently. But for everyone that's dealt with grief, for everyone that's not gotten what they wanted, that boyfriend that you really, really pray that he has broken my heart, but you will touch him. The heart of the king is under the law. You must, you know, that job, you didn't get that. But most importantly, losing loved ones, your family not being tried in a particular, there are ways where it's so heartbreaking. However, in retrospect, we always have reasons to be grateful.
Yeah.
So tell us.
Yeah, I mean, for me, anytime I look back at that time, that season, I've come to a place where I'm actually really grateful that my dad passed. So I can't even explain it, but I know that if my dad was alive, first of all, I'll not even be having this interview with you, because he would have kind of over-pampered me. My dad had plans for me. He had plans. I was going to do my master's, you know, abroad when I finished university. And where he was working in a multinational company. He was the MD, so he had already connected me the kind of job I'll be doing, everything, you know. So he kind of like had life planned out for me, you know. And then when I look back in retrospect, I'm just grateful, because if I had lived the life that he had planned for me, I'll not be this Funto. I would have just been an over-pampered daddy's girl, you know. Maybe, yes, I'll probably be successful in one career, you know, living the big girl soft life, you know, but not this life that God sent me here to live. So the reason I'm grateful is because, yes, even though it was painful at that time, you know, it was something that needed to happen for me to come into the destiny that God had already preordained for me.
How about your relationship with your siblings?
So
even
yeah,
though they should just understand,
yeah,
eventually with your stepmom, with
So,
your mom, with the extended
everything.
family. What's the dynamics of those relationships? And you know there's a way you're not yet wise, like you don't know anything, but you have to deal with life. What did
I think one major thing that helped me going in that time, or dealing with all that dynamic, was really my relationship with God. I remember then I'd started journaling since 2008. I got this journal where I'll just write exactly how I felt to God. And I will write how I felt God was responding. So I'll write his response, you know. So everything I was dealing
like
with,
to see that journal.
I still have it actually. Everything I was dealing with, I would write it. You know, God, this is what I'm going through. This is what this person is saying. This is how I feel about this thing. You know, and I'll write his response to me, like, don't worry, my daughter, I'm with you, all of that. You know, that was one thing that helped me. And then just coming to understand that, see, your life is different. Your life cannot be, you know, like every other person. So accepting the kind of life that I have, accepting my own journey. Yes, this is my life. I have steps, you know, my stepmom is there, my stepdad. And I actually really tried to make things work with my stepmom, but, you know, I remember when I was getting married, I wanted my brothers to walk me down the aisle since my dad was not, but they did not show up.
Wow.
She didn't bring them. And it kind of hurts me, but, and in truth, the thing is, I've not even seen them. Wow. In years, I think over a decade right now, I've not seen them. But I know they're in Canada. I kind of found them on Instagram and I reached out to them. So just hello, hi. I remember one day, just recently, I think about 2 months ago, I saw my brother on LinkedIn and it was the exact splitting image of my dad. And I started crying. And then my son walks into the room. I'm like, Mommy, why are you crying? Why are you crying? You know, and I just showed him a picture. I'm like, this is your uncle. Like, he doesn't even know the uncle. He has not seen him before. But it was like exactly how my dad looked, you know. But yeah, I know that someday everything will work out. But yeah.
And it's already working out.
It is.
And then work better
Yeah.
and better.